They're sitting at 4-3 right now. They have 3 more very winnable non-conference games in DePaul, Pepperdine, and Arkansas State. Before that, they play at Virginia Tech. And then you get into the ACC play. What is a realistic number of wins you can expect from Louisville right now, a month into the season, to where they got 4 already? That matches what they did last year. They haven't particularly looked great doing it, but they do have 4 wins. How many wins are you looking at for Louisville at this point in the season?
For the total season, for the whole year? I mean, look, at this point, the one thing you never want with a program is, to be mediocre. You just don't want to be average. That's like it's almost worse than being rock bottom at times. It's just being, I know what Louisville fans went through last year, and, going into this season, you weren't sure what to expect. And as of right now, you got to get those 3 non-conference. You got to steal. You'd love to steal one from either Virginia Tech or Kentucky, which is going to be.
If they were to somehow beat Kentucky, I think that's the only way they could get the fan base to buy back into the idea of Kenny Payne.
I mean, that's a part of it, man. And then I went through the ACC schedule. I mean, it's going to be it's tough. It's tough. You're going against some really good teams. You're not, the ability. They're getting to the free throw line so well right now. I think it will continue, but it'll drop off because it just won't be easy to, they're just length and their size. You're not just going to be overpower and back down guys, and guys will wall up and so on. So the number of times they're getting to the free throw line, that's not going to continue. So they've got to be able to be more creative offensively as well. Maybe it's out in transition, just tinkering with some of the half court sets. We've mentioned Ty-Laur. Look, if you look at it, I think, if you're going to be optimistic, I think this team can win 14 to 15 games. If you're going to be, take care of your 3 other non-conference games and get to 7, try and steal one, and hope to get 6 or 7 wins in the ACC. I mean, that's kind of where, the bar is. I would be surprised if this team wins 10 ACC games. When I say that, I can see Jack's, your head's about to explode. So
just even the thought of you thinking they can win 7 ACC games. I mean, I'm
not saying that they can. I'm saying that, when you ask me what the number is, I don't want to lowball it. I want to say it from an optimistic standpoint, and saying, okay, if some of the things that they've been doing and they can get better and they grow. I mean, it's all based on growth. Every team, you're not playing your best basketball in November, December. You want to be playing your best basketball in January, February, and into March. So if they can build on this from as a coach, you're always, for me, it's a daily self audit, and it's just a grind of just, you're oozing with desire to get better at what you're doing. And you're just hoping that this team has that kind of mentality, and says we have to keep just driving this point home and getting to the point where we can win. To win, look, you asked me that question. To win 7 ACC games that's an arduous task. That is not easy. So I mean, realistically, you're probably talking 3 to 5 ACC wins. But
that's kind of where I'm at, because I kind of got that number at. Because there's a couple things here I want to add to. First of all, I kind of think, first of all, Ken Pom has them losing at DePaul by 2. So it's very much a toss-up game, but they have them losing a game. I think they win that game, because I think DePaul's a very much a mess as well. Well, so I think they win the 3 non-conference games. That gets them to 7. You get Notre Dame and Georgia Tech at home. I think you can win both of those. That gets you to 9. Beyond that, I just don't see many games. Like, I think they can come up and steal a game against maybe maybe a Florida State at home or an NC State at home. They haven't looked great. Or a Boston College, maybe 1 or 2 of those games, even a Syracuse at home. But I'm not picking them to win all of those games. And I think kind of the 9, 10, 11 range is where I have them right now, which to me, if you're at 9, 10, or 11 wins, it's cut and dry. That's it for Kenny Payne. You can't bring it back at those. But if it gets to 14 or 15, like you're saying, that's where like if you're asking me, I don't think 14 or 15 should be enough to give Kenny Payne a year 3. I just don't. I think you need to be contending for the NCAA tournament for him to get a year 3.
Well,
but
that's the goal every year. And
yeah.
Jack, everybody's looking at the schedule. Every fan, every pundit, looks at the schedule and says, okay, well, this is the number of wins. And that's my point. Like, yeah, if you just look at it, you'd say, okay, 3 of the 4 wins in the ACC is what you're probably, from Ken Pom to all those type of things. But if you can make this, if you can just instill a will, a desire into this team and understand that this team can grow, because I do believe there's talent there, and you can get and raise it and just somehow just battle and find a way to get to that number, that would be fantastic. Because yeah, we're all looking at it, and Jack, I'm with you on that. You look at it and say, okay, this game is not when, this is a loss, and so on. You got to say, okay, well, if they can find a way to play like they did in New York and steal a few more, sure. But again, the standard is not to be mediocre. The standard is to be a tournament team and to make an impact in the tournament.
Right, which I think that's kind of, where you go back, being mediocre is the worst thing you can be right now. Because I think if you win 14, 50 games, you're going to have, the Jerry Eves of the world and all the, people that really want KB to succeed. I think everyone, that's a Louisville fan wants him to succeed. Obviously, he's the head coach. You want the head coach of the team to win. But if you're at 14, 15 wins after the 4-28 last year, I just don't think that's enough to give him a year 3. But I think if he won 14 or 15 games, there might be enough pressure to give him a 3rd year, which I don't think you should do. If he's, gets to like somehow, and I don't think this is going to happen, but if he were to get to like 17, 18, 19 wins, get close to the bubble, maybe get an NIT bid, then yeah, no, you can sell me on that and say you've made enough progress to where you can get a year 3. And at that point, you better be in the NCAA tournament making a pretty good jump. But you got to be flirting with a postseason in some way, shape, or form this year. For me personally, to have any conversation of should you bring him back for a 3rd year.
Yeah, like Jack, like everybody can look at it, and if you just from right now on November 30th, you look at the schedule and you're like, how's this team going to get to 17, 18 wins, right? But that's where you just say, okay, your point is well taken. You can look at it; it's not played on paper. You got to go out there and play these games, and if they can show great growth as far as what they're doing, and figure things out, how they want to guard certain things and offensively, and just talking on the macro here and not getting into all the minutiae and all the details and so on. If they can do that, then yeah, they've shown progress. But yeah, if you're just going by, like you said, Jack, from Ken Pom to looking at on paper, yeah, this team is a 12-win team. But,
right, and that's always a dangerous thing to do with college basketball, to look at things on paper, because things rarely go like,
exactly.
like on paper. Last year, Louisville was projected to win 12, 13 games, and they won 4. So it worked very much. Both ways. Louisville obviously hoping it goes the opposite direction.
Right, exactly.
With that. Yes, which I think Ken Pom has them at 11 with 5 ACC wins right now. But if you look at like the actual game by game, because you know how it goes, to where if it's kind of a toss up, it says you'll win X amount of these games where technically you're projected to lose by 1 or 2 points, and then you'll lose a couple of these games. He only has them projected to win Arkansas State, Pepperdine, Georgia Tech, and Notre Dame the rest of the way. Like I think they beat DePaul. I think they'll have chances in other games as well. But I do think it's a tool to use and kind of say, do we agree with it or do we not agree with it at this point? But I do think it's kind of a useful thing when helping to kind of project out.
Yeah, it's helpful. Yeah. And so you're going to find a way to beat a Bellarmine in New Mexico State. You got to find ways to beat an Indiana and a Texas. So that applies to the ACC. You're just going to find a way to beat those teams just because you can out-talent them. You got to find a way. And again, the Texas game, look, a tough Sky Clark couldn't have guarded that any better. If they're in that position, maybe they find a way to win a few, string a few together in the ACC, and you just never know.
Yeah, which, that's a thing that can happen, though, against good teams. Max Asmus, really good player. He made a play. That'll happen. But it'll be interesting, obviously, to see what happens and where this goes the next few weeks, next few months with this Louisville season. And you know what? I'll put it this way. If they keep winning, that makes our job a lot more fun.
That's we'll be
for
talking
sure.
about that for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot. I would much rather be doing that than talking about a coaching search. That is for sure. But for Mark Lieberman, I'm Jack Grossman. We'll be back after Virginia Tech on probably record either Sunday night, Monday, something like that. And we'll be back early next week to react to that, get ready for DePaul, and see what the Cardinals do in their ACC opener down in Blacksburg, Virginia. Coach, appreciate the time as always, and we'll talk to you guys next week here on Floyd Street's Finest.